It sound right, boys.
So there's a story where the Red Comet gets a hold of the first Gundam ever made, and Bandai created a high-grade model kit of it. Let's check out the high-grade Red Gundam from the anime Gundam GQuuuuuuX. I don't usually build high grades because the size of them just doesn't scratch the same itch of seeing a mobile suit in 1/100 scale. But the high grade GQuuuuuX is slowly growing on me. Now 1/144th scale high grades or real grades definitely won't take over my love for 1/100 master grades, but I do now see the appeal of having something tinier for displaying on my computer desk. I think master grades can also be on desks, but I feel like they're more suited to be displayed on shelves where the intent is to show them off from more of a distance. This isn't a hard and fast rule that I'll stick to, because I'm the type of collector that moves my kits around every now and then. Anyway, let's take a look at today's kit. Taking a look at the box, we see the Red Gundam using a lot of its accessories. We have the bits flying around, and it's flinging the quote-unquote hammer. We have the model number at the bottom left reading GMS Alpha Red Gundam. Like the GQuuuuuuX box, we have the sides of the box which show a cropped box art, but one of the sides is rotated 90 degrees. Really cool if you like collecting your boxes and you can display them standing up with the image in a more appropriate upright orientation if you're into that. One side of the box shows the kit in a lot of action poses you would see in the anime. I don't think the ab crunch will be as deep as the GQuuuuuuX, but it still looks more than the usual high-grade kit. You can see this kit comes with a lot of accessories, some extra hands, a rifle, a shield, and some bits, not to be confused with funnels. And then on the other side, it's just the fully built kit, the front and rear view. Opening the box, we immediately see some stickers, not as much as the GQuuuuuuX, but still kinda substantial. There are only 3 packs of runners, this is usual for high grades. And we have the manual, it's the brochure type we usually get for high grades too. Going back to the runner packs, there's a total of 11 runners, including the beam saber runner, the chain for the hammer, which I think is the same chain used for the RG RX-78-2 2.0, and this small runner of polycaps. Really didn't expect polycaps since the GQuuuuuuX didn't come with any. And the sticker sheets we saw earlier, there's one foil sheet for the color correcting stickers, and then the matte finish sheet for sticker decals. Kind of a lot of parts to this build given we have accessories like the bits and the hammer, but because of the design being closer to regular Gundam mobile suits, I'm expecting a more classic way of putting things together. Anyway, let's get to the build. Building this kit definitely had a mixed feel between the more alien-like construction of the high-grade GQuuuuuuX and the usual construction of Universal Century kits. So, the mobile suit itself was pretty basic to put together except for the legs, which have pieces that poke through the armor, and the head, which has a lot of nice mechanical details built into it. The plastic was generally pretty easy to work with, but we get 2 runners that have stiffer plastic. The runners primarily for the parts of the bits. And to set your expectations, because we have more parts to work on, this build took me about 2-3 hour sessions to complete. The high-grade GQuuuuuuX gave me about 4 hours in total, and this one is about 6. In terms of any imperfections, the way they designed the high-grade Red Gundam, like the high-grade GQuuuuuX, is again confusing. They made impressive small pieces for nice part separation, especially for the head, but there are so many other parts of it that make you wonder why they didn't work on part separation. I feel like they could have given us some yellow parts to use for the bits, or even just stickers for color applications. You already give a sheet of stickers, why not give all the missing colors? So you'll notice the most obvious missing color is yellow, being the ones on the backs of the hands that should have yellow piping details, the bits that should have yellow thruster details, and the hammer that pretty much just looks like a gray ball on a chain since it's also missing some yellow details. I think they could have at least molded in the details for the accessory connection points as well. So if you want to paint the details in, you're gonna have to scribe on these really tiny parts to get the complete look. Anyway, the stickers they do give are easier to apply than the ones on the GQuuuuuuX. There's no more wrapping around thin pieces on this one, but they are still very tiny, so do be careful not to lose them. They do give duplicates for the small stickers just in case, and luckily I didn't have to redo anything. There's a part here that may annoy some builders in terms of repetitiveness. The chain for the hammer has so many nubs to work on. And finally, the use of polycaps. They're used for parts of the chest that don't really move so much, so I guess you don't really have to worry about them getting loose over time. But I wonder if it was still necessary to use polycaps in the first place. I mean, the high-grade GQuuuuuX has 0 polycaps, so I think it would have been possible to have no polycaps for the Red Gundam build either. Now for mold lines, the only ones I could notice are the ones on the front and back of the legs, as well as the ones on the front and back of the upper arms. So please let others know in the comments if you worked on this kit already and found more mold lines to deal with. One last minor thing, the ankle guards on the Red Gundam just float and wiggle around. They're not really attached on any specific parts. So not too much to work on in terms of nubs and mold lines, but definitely you'll be doing some scribing or painting if you want the complete details to pop out for this kit. Before we talk about the accessories, if you've enjoyed this review of the high-grade Red Gundam so far, please leave a like, and if you've watched more than one of my videos, please consider subscribing. It would really help a lot. Thanks. I've been mentioning a lot of these accessories already, but here is the high-grade Red Gundam with all of its accessories. You get holding hands by default, but you only get one alternative open left hand instead of for both hands like with the high-grade GQuuuuuX. You get a rifle that's pretty much all in gray. It has a swiveling sensor and secondary handle. You get a couple of beam sabers with the handles stored up on the backpack. A shield that has the look of the classic RX-78 shield. And I really like the added details here. It even comes with the plain Xeon logo and an alternate weathered version which I chose to use here. You have to use the accessory connection points, but there's also a handle in the center for a different way of holding the shield. And that's not all. You get a lot more cool stuff. We have the bits, which are pretty much flying beam rifles. Really wish they had a way to add the yellow details in, but it still does have a nice layered construction with a gray core that peeks through the pink outer layer. And to display them, you can attach them on the mobile suit with these alternative connector parts, or mount them on action bases. We also get the GQuuuuuX version of the Gundam hammer. The chain bends and in certain angles can hold its shape. You'll need to put it on the stand with the use of the given adapter though if you want it to look as dynamic as it can be. And finally, we have a lot of adapter pieces used for attaching the bits and the shield on the various different areas of the Red Gundam. You have it on the shoulder, the elbow, there's even one on the backpack. With all of these accessories, I think the high-grade Red Gundam is a pretty good deal. Now let's focus on the aesthetics. First thing you'll notice, of course, is this Gundam is red. That's because in the GQuuuuuX series, they basically tell an alternate story of the 1-year war, and Char Aznable gets a hold of the Gundam. But no more spoilers, you have to watch the anime to find out more. Moving on, the Red Gundam's design is definitely more Gundam-esque than the GQuuuuuX. This has more hints of blockiness, while the GQuuuuuX is just a straight-up EVA unit inserted into the Universal Century timeline. That said, the Red Gundam definitely still has more slender proportions than your usual Gundam. Looking closer, there's so much surface detail on this kit, from the tiny sensors and light details, to numerous mechanical details around the armor. I know earlier in the video I complained about missing color applications, but man, this kit still has so much great detail. There's also a white version of this kit coming out soon. It's the version of this Gundam before Zeon painted it red for Char. Not sure if I'm getting that. Pretty happy with how this Gundam is in this color already. But maybe I'll get the bit expansion set. Just got to have my bits, you know?
My bits.
Overall, this model kit looks pretty cool, but if the missing colors bother you or just having to use stickers in general is already annoying to you, this kit will leave a lot to be desired. Now for some size comparisons, here is the high-grade Red Gundam up with a few others from my collection. The Master Grade RX-78-2 version 3.0, the Master Grade Char Zaku 2.0, the huge Master Grade Cublé, my Gundam Gashapon, Freeren Gashapon, some Energizers, my fake plant, my real plant, and finally my previous most recent review, the high-grade GQuuuuuX. Like the high-grade GQuuuuuX, the Red Gundam is pretty small compared to my Master Grade collection. Okay, before we check out the Red Gundam's articulation, I just want to give a short update. I did sharpen the V-fin. You can see here some of the footage that I have the safety nubs or safety flags on them, but I have since then shaved down those flags. Also, you can kind of see here the stickers for the lights. Here, the red one, you can see just because of posing this kit around, it moves the stickers around, because I don't know about other people, but most of the time when I move my kits around, I do use the shoulder armor to move the arm. That's pretty much what happens when you do that a lot. And I even lost the green one here for this shoulder here. Okay, anyway, let's start with the head. It can hinge upward this far up. And then there's a ball joint under the head, and then you can see that yellow piece inside the collar there. That's also a hinge that can go forward. So here it is looking all the way up. Pretty nice for flying poses. Doesn't really look like much all the way down, but because of the yellow hinge piece, you can kinda jut the head forward like this. And because the head has a ball joint, of course it can go all the way around.
Can see everything.
And then for the shoulders, there's a ball joint into this red part here, but there's also some wiggle room for this red piece here. It's on a round polycap, so it gives a bit more room for articulation, but not a lot. And it's pretty cool that it kinda exposes some mechanical detail in there. So with the shoulder ball joint, you can have it go all the way around. Oh, you can see the stickers are already moving around there. I guess that's why it comes with spare duplicates. We have a hinge in the shoulder armor, so that can make the arm bend up all the way. And then the upper arm can swivel on a peg. The elbow has a double ball joint, so it can fold all the way like this. And then this elbow piece for the accessory attachment points can swivel as well, even all the way in, like so. And then the wrist is just a ball joint, so it can wiggle and swivel. Moving back to the torso, there's a ball joint there in the center, and there's a ball joint at the bottom of the torso. So it can crunch inward like this, and it can also bend backward like this. You can see the shape of the torso has like this V taper to it. So if you move the torso a bit to the side like this, and then you go for the ab crunch, it can go a bit deeper. Before we go to the legs, I just want to go to the backpack. There isn't really much here, but there's nice detail. But for articulation, the beam saber holders are on ball joints, so they can just wiggle in there. Okay, for the hips, they're pretty simple. There's a ball joint into the actual waist part, and then it can also hinge outward, and it can also swivel into the upper thigh like this. Because there isn't much of skirting armor on this kit, you can have the leg go all the way up like this, all the way back like so, and with enough fiddling around you can probably get more out of this. So yeah, front and back is pretty impressive. And this is it doing the split, and you're gonna need to move this around a bit to get a perfect split. And then for the knee, you get a double joint bend, pretty nice. And you can see some nice internal detail there that gets exposed when you bend the knee. Pretty good for a high grade. And then the ankle armor is just floating in there. It's not attached to anything. The feet are on ball joints into the leg, so you can turn them all the way around if you wanted to. And it also hinges down this way, this far, and this much upward. It can also swivel side to side, but there is no toe bend. Not that you'd need it, I think, for a high grade. Pretty good. So like the high-grade GQuuuuuX, the Red Gundam has pretty good articulation. I'd even say it has better articulation because the waist just has more room for movement, and it feels a lot more solid too. Posing the high-grade Red Gundam is very entertaining. With the articulation of the mobile suit itself, you can do so many different action poses, and it can do more dynamic poses if you mount it on an action base or a stand. And you can get even more posing options when you use all the other accessories that's included in the model kit. It's pretty fun trying out the poses on the box, but you can definitely pull off a lot more interesting poses if you want to. The high-grade GQuuuuuX already had good articulation, but because the Red Gundam doesn't have much extra armor around its joints, it's easier to move and bend this thing to however orientation you want. Personally, I think the GQuuuuuX does have a more interesting design, but I prefer the Red Gundam now because of how much easier it can move. Overall, the high-grade Red Gundam is definitely a good-looking model kit with really good articulation. Like the high-grade GQuuuuuX, if the sticker applications won't bother you, this will still look great on any shelf or at your desk. There is just so much surface detail to appreciate, even if they are incomplete. The build is pretty short, and there isn't much brittle plastic to worry about, but you have to be prepared for tiny pieces in the head and the nubs on the chain. Again, a common deal breaker for some people are the color correcting stickers. It looks great if you use them, but not everyone might like how that looks. I personally don't really mind it though, it looks pretty okay to me. The articulation of the high-grade Red Gundam is among the best of all the model kits I've ever built. And when you add in all the accessories, you get a lot of posing options, making the finished product look great on any shelf or any collection. Overall, with the pros and cons, if you're a fan of the Red Gundam in the anime, or you just think this kit looks good in general, this high grade is definitely something to consider picking up. Thanks for watching. If you built this kit or have thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. Speaking of comments, I want to give a quick shout out to Flow for their comment in my previous video. Glad you're enjoying the videos on my channel, hope you keep supporting. Finally, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more builds and reviews. See you in the next one.